Hello guys, and welcome to my latest review on Hoops, the latest adult animated sitcom on Netflix. Today I'll be just giving overall my thoughts, and I'll probably talk about some of the characters. This review does contain major spoilers, so if you haven't seen it and don't want to be spoiled, please go watch it first and then come back. Anyways, this is all just my opinion, so just take it with a grain of salt. Anyways, Hoops is created by Ben Hoffman and stars Jake Johnson for New Girl as the lead, an angry basketball coach who only cares about his shitty high school basketball team and nothing more. There is also Phil Lord and Chris Miller, who are famous for working on stuff like Clone High, the Lego Movie, Into the Spider-Verse, Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs, and most even recently like Bless the Hearts and The Last Man on Earth. Also, Jake Johnson is most famous for New Girl, obviously. These star people definitely make it sound promising. If you add the additional cast of like Ron Funches, Natasha Leggero, and 80 Miles, all of these people definitely do contribute. So the main character in Hoops is named Ben Hopkins, who recently just separated from his wife Shannon and is about to be fired from his job. He's not a successful guy according to his dad, because his dad still financially supports him as an adult, and Ben does have some real anger issues which are explored near the end of this first season. And he does have a habit of cursing. The show does use a lot of the word shit and fuck. I mean, like, these two are used quite a lot. But then shows like Paradise PD and Crossing Swords use it just as much, if not more. But I think Ben does have a soft side as well. His best friend and assistant coach Ron is now dating his ex-wife, which weirdly Ben is somewhat cool with, as he's never legally separated from his wife. Which is why Hoops does show them interacting quite a lot. I mean, in fact, their story for me, like, it's kind of, like, their relationship is on and off. But I don't know, like, just to me, it just feels like interesting. Like, it's definitely the most interesting thing on the show for me, which I will explain later as I review the penultimate. One thing I like about Hoops is it doesn't fully follow the typical shock humor format that we all know from recent adult anime shows like Brickleberry, Mr. Pickles, or Crossing Swords, Paradise PD, or even modern Family Guy and American Dad. And like, shock humor has mostly given adult animation a bad name. I mean, I wouldn't say Hoops has a lot of shock humor, as like in the first scene of Paradise PD, the kid shoots his dad in the balls, and it actually shows his dick bleeding. Like, according to Ben Hoffman in an interview, Ben Hoffman, the creator of Hoops, they didn't want to have any of that because they didn't want to gross people out. They just accordingly wanted to tell a story. But I mean, yes, I think Hoops is definitely raunchy for its excessive cursing, but unlike Paradise PD and Crossing Swords, it doesn't use shock humor just for sake of the comedy. There's almost, like, I'd say like 5% of the show's humor is shock. When you compare it to Crossing Swords, like 95% of that show is shock. So, maybe if you give Crossing Swords 100 and you give Hoops 0, I mean, I'd hate Crossing Swords more, and I'd like Hoops more. But, yeah, there are some pretty funny lines that even admitted to laughing. There's also some pretty subtle humor. Hoops also has a wide ensemble of characters, even if some of them aren't fully developed yet. In my opinion, there's not really a lot of world building, which I kind of wish there was more, but, like, not a lot of world building allows for the focus on some of the more recurring characters like Matty or Shannon, or I guess you could say Ron. I mean, like, I guess Ben does definitely take up too much screen time, but like, just seeing him like hoping he can win one night, or like win in one of the episodes, actually might be a good thing. The trailers were definitely misleading in how the show handles itself. Like the trailer of Hoops was basically just Ben trying to shoot the hoops, and people just immediately took it for a Family Guy ripoff just because it has that joke that goes on forever. I mean, in my opinion, modern American Dad on TBS also has that problem as well. So, I mean, like, if you're trying to diss Hoops but, like, praise modern American Dad, please stop. Please stop. I mean, American Dad is basically just a former shell of itself at this point. Like, the modern seasons are just garbage. So, like, back to Hoops. I think the cursing in Hoops, yeah, like I said, I think it's a bit excessive. But when they really do need to use it, it does shine. The protagonist is unlikable, but that's kind of the point. No matter what others try to do, of course, Ben can't be changed, as I'll explain a little more later. So I'm gonna talk about some of the episodes now. I'm not gonna talk about all of them. I mean, like there are some of them that like are truly forgettable, and I don't even want to mention about them. So I'm gonna just not talk about the pilot at all. I'm gonna move in straight into the second episode of My Two Dads. One thing, My Two Dads is the first decent episode actually, because I didn't really like the pilot. It's funny like how everyone like enjoys Barry because he has like a huge fucking ego, but like people don't like Ben, which is kind of weird because I honestly prefer Ben to Barry by a long shot. Like I understand, like I kind of wish Ben would win one night, but you know, I guess the show really doesn't want him to win. So like Ben tries to sabotage Shannon's relationship with his dad because like Shannon and Barry have a really good relationship, and Ben wants to get back at her for leaving him, quote unquote. And of course, Shannon has a deal with another farm, and Ben obviously comes to the ceremony and ruins it. But I think personally, my favorite thing about My Two Dads was the subplot with the kids bonding with Matty by drinking and doing drugs in his basement, which really makes for a nice, touching montage. I'm gonna skip ethics and move on to the sponsor. When Ben's dad supports the school's gym, Ben gets upset because the gym is all about his dad and not him. So Ben makes it his goal to win, so his dad is forced to give free food at his restaurant. And basically it's just a moral of teamwork and I guess you can say family. Like, Ben has said many times that he considers the team his family. Makes for a nice conclusion, and it proves that Ben does actually care for his team. And the subplot with Shannon, Ron, and Kirk trying to expose Ben as a lie is honestly pretty amusing. And like it concludes because there's some foul-mouthed kid who acts and looks exactly like Ben, that Ben is the dad, when he's really not. And it's honestly kind of funny how they bicker at each other at the end. I'm going to skip the girlfriend episode and move on to Zen. Zen has some really great animation moments. Like the animation montage when Ben is in his dreaming phase during the anger management class reminds me of shows like The Midnight Gospel. The Midnight Gospel just came out this year, and like, The Midnight Gospel is basically just an animated podcast. So I guess I can't say I hate it, but I don't know. Like, I think the animation is wild, which I really like, even though it kind of just takes the attention away. Like, you can either just watch it on mute, or you can just you can just listen to the podcast, or you can do both. But I prefer to just do one or the other. But yeah, the Midnight Gospel and the Zen animation and Hoops definitely have their wild and absurd, but yet interesting moments. I'm gonna skip talking about the strike because I thought that episode was forgettable. I'm gonna just move into Death. So Death is the flashback episode for the main characters. After mourning the death of an old high school teacher, the school hires a psychiatrist to help the kids deal with but the only adults use the resource more often. I think maybe like one or two kids were in there, and then the adult characters just suddenly barged in and just started talking. They were Opal, Ron, Ben, Barry, and Shannon, and they all share a brief flashback scene, which all expand the characters into funny, sweet, weird, and yet even interesting ways. In this episode, we learned that Ben got his angry traits from meeting Shannon one day as a kid. Ben was really just a sweet, innocent dude who didn't really know how to stand up for himself. And when Shannon taught Ben how to stand up for himself, he became the way he was because by letting it all out, he let all his anger out, and that's why he's the way he is today. And Shannon's flashback, we learned she left Ben because she realized that she had to turn her life around, because with Ben never wanted to change, and of course she pretty much knew a few years in dating him he was pretty much a loser. So she decided that it was time to turn her life around when she got into a drunk driving accident, and the drunk driving accident crashed into a local farm, which she had to turn her life around by volunteering, and now she owns it. It doesn't explain how she owns the farm, but honestly, I thought that was pretty cool. The flashback with Opal saving the people on the plane was nice, but Ron was pretty badass in the war zone. I forgot Barry's. I don't even care about his. I think mainly the only cons I really had were Barry's. Like I said, I didn't care for his. And the flashback with the psychiatrist was definitely not necessary, because okay, she's there, and Ben orders food again. Like as shown in the beginning of Death, the delivery guy dies because Ben orders food, and then I think he does something stupid. It's the same thing. Well, in the end, it's not sort of the same thing, but the psychiatrist actually dies because Ben orders food and the delivery driver crashes into her car. It just feels like kind of a Family Guy-ish sort of like where the characters die. Like, wasn't needed. And really, I think the biggest con, that wasn't even the biggest con. The biggest con I had with Death was that I wish the moment between Ben and Shannon was more serious. Like, when Ben says the only reason he's doing whatever stupid thing he's doing for Shannon is because he still has feelings for her. And Shannon, like, kind of has an awe, but then, like once after that awe, just, like, okay, like, it's just all disregarded. Like, ugh. It's just all disregarded. The build-up leads to nothing. So, like, it leaves, like, viewers like you and me, like, what actually happened? So, anyways, enough talking about Death. I'm going to move on to the best episode of The Road Game. This episode, yeah, typical sitcoms, kind of like Family Guy's Turkey Guys, where Peter and Brian are stuck together, and Brian has to deal with Peter's stupidity. It's kind of the same thing with Shannon having to deal with Ben's stupidity. But unlike Turkey Guys, this does offer more insight into their relationship. So after Ben and his team get invited to a Cincinnati conference for basketball, Ben gets drunk the night before and wakes up late and misses the bus the next morning, which forces him to get a ride with Shannon. So obviously, like I said, he does some stupid shit. First, he tells Shannon to hop on the freeway and they get lost. Then when Shannon has to stop for gas and the restroom, Ben talks to some guy and leaves the keys in the car, so some teenage girls take advantage of it and steal it. And actually, before they get to the gas station, Ben tosses his phone out the window so they can't call anybody. So, yeah, I think there were definitely some nice throwbacks to previous episodes. Like, with the most notable one being that Shannon used to love bull riding. Like, in Death, a younger Shannon, before obviously she crashed, was shown to be really, really skilled at bull riding. So she uses that to her advantage. And when she wins the $200 for Ben so they can get a ride to Cincinnati. And while they're just sitting there waiting to get a ride, Ben, where is it? Oh, it's right here. So Shannon sees an envelope in Ben's shirt, and Ben is shown to actually have signed the divorce papers, his birthday present for her. It's been clear that Ben, remember, like I said, doesn't want to legally divorce her because then once he does, according to him, Shannon is out of his life forever. But it's nice here that he finally is thinking of someone other than himself, and Shannon's so happy here that like they fuck each other in the bar in the I think it's the janitor's room that night. So yeah, I mean, yeah, Ben is definitely self-centered. Like again, like when people tell the stories, he says boring. So it is a little different and makes him at least sort of likable here. Yeah, the two subplots in this were just fine. I mean, the first one is just the kids want to spend some time with some girls, so they have a pool party, but then they use cleaning equipment and it basically gets in their eyes and the tournament's canceled. And then Opal pretends to be Shannon because she obviously wasn't going to make it. Basically, Ron got Shannon a huge surprise at the hotel, and basically Opal takes it all because Shannon wasn't going to make it. So yeah, I thought The Road Game was a great episode. But the finale was just disappointing. Like, it just wrapped things up way too quick. And, like, it starts out fine, like, when Shannon starts having remorse after having sex, and that she actually, like, breaks up with Ben and Ron, and which makes Ron depressed and mad. But once the twist comes with the prep school guy, the episode just starts to fall apart. Like, Ben is so concerned with trying to get the assistant coach position that the prep school guy offers him, if he can get Matty to go to the prep school, that he pushes Matty, like, so hard to do something he doesn't want. And yet Ben doesn't understand why his team means so much to him at this point. I just feel like it's kind of like a thing where, like, okay, he thinks they mean so much to him, but then he's willing to just give it up all for one thing, which really isn't going to make him any better. And the ending with the students wondering if their coach really likes them or not is, yeah, it's definitely poorly executed. And, like, in the end, they basically just get stuck in the middle of the road. It's just too rushed. I wish it was maybe an hour. Like, if you really had to cut down an episode, I would just cut the strike. The strike was just totally forgettable. Like, if you had to make the finale an hour, I would have definitely cut out the strike and make the entire finale an hour. Like, actually give the characters sort of some closure, but like maybe leave it a little bit more open to like so we can see what's actually going to happen with the characters next season. I personally would have preferred that. But I'm not saying everything should have a happy ending, but I just feel like that was just personally a quick and lazy way to end it all. And otherwise, pretty solid season. So overall, would I recommend Hoops? I guess. I mean, I'm very on it. I think it's decent, or maybe just okay. I don't think it's good. I mean, like, if you're not a fan of swearing, just turn it off. I mean, Jake Johnson has said in interviews so many times, if you're not within it in the first 5 minutes, just turn it off. I mean, personally, though, like, if I have to really have 2 true improvements for Hoops to be a pretty good show. First, tone down on the swearing. There's way too much. Like, you have shows like Solar Opposites and Rick and Morty that have, like, okay, maybe Rick and Morty's a little excessive, but, like, shows like Solar Opposites definitely have swear words, but they're not used very often. So basically, I think like toning down the swearing, maybe like even just half of what it is now, would just make it better for me, in my opinion. I'm not saying that swearing is bad. I just get a little tired of it. It's definitely not something that makes it like horrible, but I mean, I think toning down the swearing would definitely make it better. And 2, definitely more heart. We need more scenes like what happened in the penultimate. Like, I know Ben Hoffman has said in interviews, like, because I read all their interviews, that, like, oh, yeah, it's not supposed to be sweet or deep. But, I mean, like, if you're gonna put heart, because it's there. The heart is definitely there. But it's just so, poorly executed. Like, just the way the show fumbles the heart-to-heart moments is just so poor. Like, it's hard to take it seriously when you're fumbling it apart. Either you have it or you don't. The show definitely has it. They're there. They just need to be better executed. And that's something they can possibly take from shows like Bob's Burgers or Bless the Hearts, where like the heart in those shows is definitely genuine. And like we actually care about the characters because of these heartwarming moments that are so genuine. Like, you actually care for the characters. Here, I only really care about maybe 2 or 3 characters. Like the rest I don't care for at all. But, I mean, if you don't mind the swearing and you want something more than just, mindless shock humor like Paradise PD and Crossing Swords, I don't think the show is definitely as bad as the internet has made it out to be. So, overall, I'd say Hoops is a decent, solid watch. There's definitely too much swearing, and the finale is, it's just disappointing. But I have to say I was overall interested in the character arcs. The show is pretty funny when it needs to be, and there are some pretty deep moments in the show as well. Am I impressed? Not quite. But I would watch a second season if there is one next year. Anyways, here's what I thought about the individual episode grades. As you can see, most of them aren't very high, but I think Hoops does show a lot of promise as well. Like, I mean, I think Duncanville definitely shows promise as well. Like, most shows I definitely think show a lot of promise. There are a lot of smart comedy writers in Hollywood. So most of the new shows I've seen definitely have a lot of promise. But, like, we also have to remember, like, when we're, like, saying Hoops is horrible or stuff, like, on the internet, you have to also remember that shows like BoJack Horseman didn't start out well at all. I mean, BoJack Horseman really didn't actually start hitting until maybe like episode 9 of like season 1, and like it doesn't like fully get into where it is until the 2nd season. So I see people praising BoJack Horseman now, but I mean back in 2014 and 2015, people said it was horrible. So I mean, like, I think we maybe should give Hoops another chance, at least a 2nd season, just to see where things go. But, I don't think Hoops was ever horrible at all. I mean, like, it's not like Crossing Swords, or that show is just, like, God, irredeemable to the point where I don't even want to watch any more of that. Every time I think about that, the grade for the show just goes down. Down. But, at least with Hoops, I think it definitely has some promise. So there you go, guys. There are my thoughts on Hoops. So I actually watched all the episodes on one day, but now unfortunately just due to a bunch of delays I wasn't able to do the video fast enough. I just hope this video does get a lot of views because I'd be so mad if it didn't. The show is definitely solid so far, but also has a lot of room to improve. So now I want to know what you guys thought about the show. Please subscribe, share, like, and leave your thoughts in the comments, especially because I'm going to read every single comment. I'll probably reply to you. And I will see you guys next time for my next video.